In today's video, we're going to go through the science of how the brain actually learns new skills and why the way you practice matters just as much as actually practice in itself. Now, this video is going to be a little bit of a longer one, so feel free to go and grab your tea, grab your coffee, really sit into it. This video is going to be for you if you've ever been to perhaps a shorter term skills clinic, maybe watched some YouTube tutorials, and you felt like you've learned something new, a new skill, a new maneuver, only to find yourself feeling like you're back to where you started a week later or a month later. We're going to dive into the why behind that. And here's the thing. It's not because you're a bad rider or because the clinic was bad. It's because you didn't actually learn that new skill on an embodiment level. You didn't take that new information from the information stage, from like, yeah, I understand it, to, yeah, I can feel it on the bike. So today I'm going to break down some science and use simple terms to show you how that actually works and the science behind why a longer term training program like our full circle coaching package actually works. So on paper, the quick fix or the one-off skills clinic always looks great. You get a group of riders, you get a coach, and you get a short block of training, all for a one-off low investment. But here's the problem. In groups, you get averages. And because of this, it means the instruction isn't tailored around your challenges, your learning style, or your pace. The second reason is that often these one-off sessions leave you in the conscious competence phase. So because you're left in the conscious competence stage of learning, what this means is you can do the skill, but only when you're really thinking hard and you're in a comfortable environment away from other stresses. So it means you can do the skill in the skills session, but then when we go to try and apply it afterwards, it doesn't quite work the same. We'll dive deeper into this one in just a second and the other stages of learning that follow. The third reason here is that without structured follow-up, that new skill soon fades from conscious competence before it gets the opportunity to become unconscious competence, which is the effortless automatic phase where you can repeat this skill in any terrain at any speed and really any situation without having to think too much about it, all while feeling confident. Now, this isn't just my opinion. This is neuroscience. Before we move on, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into the stages of competence. So we've got 4 stages. Number 1 is unconscious incompetence. Unconscious incompetence is basically that stage where like ignorance is bliss. We don't know what we don't know. It's maybe we can relate to when we were first ever getting on a mountain bike for the first time, or maybe we've got a friend who's just starting out. We don't know what the skills are for mountain biking, and perhaps we don't even know where our lacks of ability are. We're unconscious incompetence. Okay. The second stage here is conscious incompetence. Okay, here we're being made aware. We've become conscious of what we don't yet know. Okay, so perhaps there is more to this thing. Perhaps there is more to the mental side of mountain biking than I initially thought. Perhaps there is more to cornering than just leaning the bike and looking ahead. Whatever it is, we're now conscious that there's more out there, and we're aware of the fact that we don't know what that more is yet. Stage number 3 is conscious competence. Okay, so this is the stage we mentioned before that a lot of shorter term training programs or skills clinics will get mountain bikers to. Okay, they'll get you to that conscious competence place where you can in fact do the skill, you know the stuff, the coaches can see it, they can take videos of you and you're like, yeah, cool, I'm doing the drop. Sweet, I get it. The problem is that if we don't keep moving down this ladder, down this chain of learning, this stuff will still fade. So generally, when mountain bikers come into a skills session, they're generally learning somewhere in between 2 and 3. They're either conscious of what they don't know, or they do have some conscious competence. They are actually able to do the skills when they really think about it. Now, the job of a good mountain bike coach is to take someone not just to level 3, but beyond level 3 to level 4, which is that unconscious competence we mentioned before. Okay, so unconscious competence. this is where the real magic happens. As I said before, this is where the skill set has become automatic. We no longer need to think about it with our rational brain because it's been programmed into our subconscious, and now we can more or less feel into that skill. We can do it on repeat without having to expend much energy or really stress about it. And this is where we really start to get the confidence in the mileage from this stage. But if we don't stick at it long enough and we don't train ourselves to build the skills the right way, chances are we'll never get there. We'll stay in zones 3, or even worse, stay in zone 2. Okay, so let's talk about how do we get to zone 4 consistently. Okay, cool. So now we're actually going to dive into this, how the brain builds skill. So a little bit of neuroscience for the background here. Our brains are made up of over 100 billion, that's right, billion, not million, 100 billion neurons. That's a huge number. And each of these neurons can be connected in over 10,000 different ways. So essentially, every time you try a new skill, whether it's a corner, a drop, or a rock roll, these connections, these neurons fire. And the more times you practice in the right ways, the more they strengthen. So now we're going to talk about what's essentially a little bit of a magic ingredient. It's a substance called myelin. So myelin is a bit of a magical ingredient when it comes to building new neural pathways and building new skill sets. It can be thought of a little bit like the insulation that wraps around an electrical wire. So the more myelin or insulation that I'm drawing here in orange that wraps around our electrical wire, the faster, smoother, and more reliable the signal that comes through that neural pathway. So to use another, maybe more bike-related metaphor here, myelin is the ingredient that essentially turns like a rough rake and ride piece of single track into a bulldozed superhighway that can really efficiently process information. But here's the kicker. Building myelin takes more than just logging lots of hours or lapping your favorite trails on repeat. One of the best books I've read lately is a book by Daniel Cole called The Talent Code. And in the Talent Code, Daniel identifies 3 different things that really matter when it comes to learning a new skill set and learning that skill set as effectively as possible. So let's go through them now. Number 1 is deep practice. When we talk about deep practice, we're talking about the training that is on the edge of your ability. We're talking about making mistakes, and we're also talking about correcting them. Okay, so training on the edge of your ability, making mistakes, and correcting them. That is deep practice, and that's one of the essential ingredients. Number 2 is what Daniel calls ignition. Now, this is really that spark of motivation that gets you excited and keeps you coming back. Okay, so we need to make sure our motivation is coming from a place that's going to keep us coming back to overcome those challenges, even when it gets tricky. Number 3 is masterful coaching. So when I think about a masterful coach, I think about someone who can break a skill down, give you precise feedback, and also help shape the sessions to keep you in that sweet spot where learning happens the fastest. So in the theme of taking all of this abstract talk down into reality, with some practical things you can actually apply on the bike, next we're going to talk about what builds skills. Okay, and the science says that there is 5 essential ingredients. Now, without all 5 of these ingredients, we're going to leave some potential on the table. So take notes, because I know from speaking to hundreds of mountain bikers out there, maybe I've even talked to you, a lot of what we want is to be right into our full potential. So here it is. The first thing we need is spaced repetition. So spaced repetition or spaced reps is what we need to build a myelin. Myelin doesn't build unless we fire the same neural circuits over and over and over again with space to rest in between. That's why one clinic, one rep doesn't always work. It doesn't usually work for that matter. Number 2 is sleep between sessions. So here's my horrible whiteboard right in there. So sleep isn't just downtime, During your sleep, your brain literally replays that practice and starts consolidating those connections or those synapses in between the new neural pathways. So sleep between sessions is another essential ingredient to consolidating new learnings, new skills. Now the third one may surprise you here. The third one is controlled failure. Controlled failure means that struggling with a tricky corner or a tricky jump, for example, isn't wasted effort. With precise feedback and correction, it can actually help you wire the exact circuits you need. And now number 4 is, on that same note, resilience. Now resilience is important because obviously if you just quit, you'll stay where you are. You won't take that skill set any further. But resilience doesn't just mean grinding through it and perhaps starting to bed in or practice the failures. That's where the expert guidance really comes in, so that if we are doing something wrong, we can correct it quickly and actually start building in the right thing and make those pathways far stronger. But resilience is important because even if we are practicing the right things, getting the right feedback, we are still going to come up on some frustration, perhaps, when things aren't always going our way as quickly as we'd like. And the resilience is what's going to help us keep pushing forward, keep taking on our coach's feedback, and keep pushing towards that overarching goal or our why. Number 5 is expert guidance. Now, expert guidance probably comes as no surprise if you made it this far in the video. It kind of building on that idea, you've probably all heard of Anders Ericsson's 10,000 hour rule or 10-year rule. The idea that it takes 10,000 hours, incredible amount, or 10 years to master a skill set. Now, while that could be true, there's lots of deliberation in the scientific community as to whether that's actually a rule or not. What we do know, and what sports psychs like Dr. Craig Manning, for example, have pointed out, is that with expert guidance, these numbers can be decreased dramatically, right? We're not just trying it out by trial and error and perhaps wiring in some of those failures. We're actually learning the right things in the right way in each moment, okay? So the right things in the right way at the right time because of that expert guidance. And this can actually cut that 10-year or 10,000 hour rule down into somewhere around 6,000 hours, depending on who you ask. Pretty cool decrease. So to summarize, through observational learning and mirror neuron activation, you can accelerate skill acquisition far beyond what you'd be able to do on your own. So this is essentially some of the science that we've based our full circle coaching program on. You get spaced repetition in the form of multiple private lessons spaced throughout the year or throughout the season. You get sleep in between sessions to consolidate, and you get that controlled failure. We set you up for success by allowing you to actually feel some of the mistakes in a controlled, safe way, while also quickly guiding you onto the right path before we wire in those mistakes. We also tie in the mental side, as you guys know. And then obviously you get my expert guidance that helps accelerate the learning. So putting that all together, we take you through the 4 stages of learning, from the unconscious incompetence all the way through to the unconscious competence, where the skills feel automatic, they feel effortless, and dare I say it, fun. The skills feel fun. So the next time you think about fixing your dropping technique, your mindset, or whatever it is, remember that lasting progress isn't about showing up or doing something once. It's about structured, spaced repetition, recovery, and expert guidance. This is the difference between those fleeting high-five moments and real, permanent progression. If you want to see how it works in action, go check out our full circle coaching program. The link is down below. And as always, let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to hear what really resonated with you down below. Till next time, cheers and happy trails.